Hey everyone, welcome back. Today was the final day of the Go Battle Weekend, a very fun event where you can do 100 battles every day. It takes a while to do, but they are a lot of fun if you can get them all in. Today I decided to use the Talonflame team that you see on screen. Talonflame is a fantastic pick for taking out the Mud Slappers, the Fighters, the Grass types, basically all of the annoying picks that you're seeing right now in the meta, so I wanted to try it out. This team was a little bit weak to Azumarill, which was a little bit tricky to deal with today, but as you'll see in the video, I did deal with it quite a bit, and I was able to beat quite a few Azumarills just through brute force with Talonflame, with Diggersby, and of course with Dunsparce. And if you want to see me do these battles live, I stream almost every day at twitch.tv/ItsAXN around 5:30 Pacific, 8:30 Eastern. Make sure to check me out. I'd love to see you there. And let's get into the battles, see what Talonflame can do. And jumping right on into game number one, we have Talonflame in the lead up against a Toxapex. Not a great matchup, obviously. The water typing resists our fire type damage, and they also have Brine, which would be super effective against us. With that said, though, Brave Bird is going to do a catastrophic amount of damage if they happen to let this move through. I don't really know if they want to shield a Toxapex against a Talonflame. Looks like they do let that move through, which is really helpful, because now, after landing that attack, I've basically put them into a range where a Drill Run or a Scorching Sense or even a Fly could knock out that Toxapex. We safe swapped our Dunsparce, tried to catch a Brine there, but obviously they did not throw it, and in comes a Pangoro. This is a terrible matchup for us to be in, but our opponent is playing a little bit greedily. They're overfarming quite a bit here, which is fantastic news for us, because now we get a shield, and maybe they'll have to still throw a close combat, I think, if they want to knock us out here. Looks like they're going to throw some energy. It will have to be a close combat if they want to knock us out. Looks like that is exactly what they throw, and now our Talonflame can come in, farm them down, and hopefully get some damage off against that Toxapex later on. This is not the best situation to be in still, because we're going to be tripped down with Night Slash. They have energy on that Toxapex, but we have energy on our Talonflame, and they also have to throw their move if they want to knock us out, which we are, I guess, able to catch on our Diggersby, but we have to keep in mind this Brine is still going to be super effective against us. It doesn't do a lot of damage, but it will add up over time. And if things couldn't get worse, a Dugong in the back. This is not great for our Diggersby. Ground-type Diggersby here does not want to see a Water and Ice-type Pokemon, especially one that can debuff our attack stat. Fortunately for us, though, they do end up shielding that first move. Because of that shield, I think that I can knock them out with a Fly if I can get some chip damage on them. And if that is the case, and I can build up enough energy to get another Fly against that Toxapex, maybe my Talonflame can make something happen this game. I'm going to throw my Scorching Sands. It has been debuffed thanks to that first Icy Wind, but we are going to try to chip it down as much as possible here. They threw all of their energy against our Diggersby, so I know that that Toxapex doesn't have a lot of energy left over on it, but I do need to be very careful with my energy management if I want to win this game. Another Scorching Sands will be thrown against this Dugong, and it will easily put them into range where a Fly could knock them out. I knew they were not at the move yet, though, on this Dugong. I wanted to overfarm to make sure I could get to this next Fly against this Toxapex, knock out this Dugong here, one more Incinerate. The Fly is going to be reached after two Incinerates, actually, but also so is the Brave Bird. Might as well throw the move that I know will knock out, take out this Toxapex the way the game started, with a Brave Bird, and winning the game against a very, very bad matchup for us. Looks like this game is going to be up against a regional champion here, Cindy, well known for winning the Vancouver Regional Championships in the very first season of the competitive circuit being around, a fantastic trainer, and someone rocking the Pangoro in the lead. This matchup is always a little bit awkward because, honestly, Talonflame, it is not the hardest wall to Pangoro. Two Night Slashes will start adding up, and these Karate Chops, despite being resisted, have already chunked us down to about 75% of our health, I'd have to say, and our backline does not want anything to do with this Pangoro. We are going to try to no-shield this. There's a chance we survive this move. It does survive on 1 HP. We can go for the Fly, but on CMP, they do end up throwing all of their energy. And now I might not get switch advantage, but I do get shield advantage, and I take out what is likely the worst matchup for our backline to see. In comes a very tricky Pokemon, the Drifblim, non-Shadow Drifblim, though. I've seen a lot of Shadow Drifblim, not too many of these non-Shadow variants, so maybe there's going to be play for me here this game. Go for the Fire Punch, try to take an Icy Wind here if I can. I don't want to have our Dunsparce be locked in with a debuff. Looks like the Icy Wind will be thrown. It'll do a decent amount of damage, but because it's a non-shadow, I doubt it two-shots us. Yeah, not quite. In comes Dunsparce, and in comes our opponent's final Pokemon. It's going to be the Clodsire. I think Dunsparce at this point has a lot of play, but that Drifblim has energy. This Clodsire as well will need 3 charge moves to get knocked out. That's kind of the worst thing about this matchup. Drill Run is obviously super effective, but Roll Out, which is our fast move, does almost no damage, being resisted by that ground typing, so I will be able to no-shield this. I figured that they're just going to spam out cheaper moves here, not go for the Earthquake, and now, since we've no-shielded that Sludge Bomb, they're going to be forced into going more Sludge Bombs here in the future, and now we can go for extra energy, try to build up as much as possible, and throw these Drill Runs against this Clodsire. I also very careful about a catch that could potentially happen, because that Drifblim, if they ever caught a heat drill run rather, would be a catastrophic situation for us. With that said, we saw it coming a mile away. In comes the rock slide now against this Drifblim, and I know I survive another icy wind here as well. Dunsparce is not concerned about this in the slightest. I have CMP'd this rock slide. I have the rollout damage. I still have my Diggersby around as well that can take out the rest of that Clodsire. So I think at this point, our Dunsparce has flipped this backline matchup here. We can go for the Fire Punch with the energy that we have stored, and now we can go for the Scorching Sands against that Clodsire later on. Fire Punch will just barely be enough to knock out that balloon. In comes that Clodsire, as I was saying. We go for the Scorching Sands. It will be more than enough to knock out from this range, and we will be able to barely flip this matchup against a Pangoro, one of the worst Pokemon for our backline to see. Fortunately, Talonflame was able to neutralize it. All right, next matchup here, Talonflame in the lead, up against a Gastrodon. Okay, a water and ground type Pokemon, kind of a tricky typing for our team. Luckily, a Quagsire would be a lot harder than, I guess, this Gastrodon, right? Because Gastrodon is stuck throwing mainly ground type damage. If it was a Quagsire, which we saw a couple of, it's a much trickier matchup, but we did beat a couple of them today, too. In the safe swap here, it looks like it was a Mandibuzz. Not exactly the best answer here to our Talonflame. Also not a great Pokemon into our Dunsparce, which we can counter swap. We have a lot of rock type damage. Try to go for these rock sides, take this out so our Diggersby does not have to deal with this. Diggersby has play into Mandibuzz, obviously, but it is a very hard time to just take out if you're in the 100% HP matchup there with Diggersby into Mandibuzz, because you go for Fire Punches and Quick Attacks, they don't do a lot of damage. Mandibuzz has very strong hitting Dark Pulses against our Diggersby, so taking it out here is going to be fantastic. I also know I don't necessarily need Switch. What I need is I need to make sure that Gastrodon doesn't get a big farm down. If that was a Dark Pulse, I was fine getting knocked out, but also the Aerial Ace is fine as well. I only give them 2 Mud Slaps rather than giving them like 5 or 6 if they didn't throw that move. In comes their final Pokemon, a Dugong. Luckily, we have our Talonflame here that's going to be able to chip it down with these Incinerates and going straight fly. We get to avoid this with our Diggersby, which is amazing. I wish I did have my Dunsparce around, but I needed my Dunsparce for that Mandibuzz that they had earlier in the game, so even though we don't have it here, I think our Talonflame can just work out this matchup, and then Diggersby in the back should be able to be more than enough to take out that Gastrodon. I have seen some Gastrodons in this current meta, for some reason, running Water Pulse. I mean, I shouldn't say for some reason. It makes a little bit of sense because it obviously hits the Flyers a little bit more, hits the ground types as well, but it's a very underwhelming move in the most part, so I could see a reason to run it, but I mean, if you want to run Water Pulse, it kind of just makes it a lot more RPS, I think, which is kind of funny. You might think it would make it more flexible, but it makes it so the matchups that are kind of more neutral become much worse because you don't have Earth Power. It looks like they do swap out here into their Gastrodon once again. I go for the Brave Bird, try to get it as low as possible because now I can go for the double up on these Scorching Sands. I know Diggersby is bulky enough to survive an Earth Power. It's bulky enough to survive a Body Slam and the Mud Slaps that they're going to throw. So as long as I come out of this match with 2 Scorching Sands, I can knock out not only this Gastrodon, but also this Dugong. This is fantastic because our Diggersby is not fond of the water types, but I think right now it's about to take out both of them. We have back-to-back Scorching Sands now. We'll throw the first. It'll easily knock out this Gastrodon. That Dugong in the back as well is very low. We go for 1 quick attack. We wouldn't win CMP anyway, so might as well get that 1 bit of fast move damage that we can in here and go for the Scorching Sands, knock out this Dugong, and take the win. GG's to them. Very fun team. Our next matchup, we have Talonflame into Talonflame. Very annoying matchup, in my opinion. I want to avoid this on my Diggersby, but I also know my Talonflame is very high ranked. There's a chance I won't win CMP, and if this is a Brave Bird, we get 1 shot. If it's a Fly and we call it, it's actually a pretty decent matchup. In comes their move. It is a Brave Bird. We get 1 shot here. That is catastrophic, and they safe swap to a Ferrothorn. So we just kind of lost an entire Pokemon in that opening matchup. That's kind of still all right, maybe still playable in a way if their backline is very weak to Dunsparce, but at this point they have a Ferrothorn here, which is a huge core breaker for our Dunsparce plus our Diggersby. Luckily, Diggersby actually has more play here than you might expect. As you can see, we are doing a massive amount of damage with these Fire Punches, but these Power Whips and these Bullet Seeds as well are also damaging our Diggersby quite a bit. In comes their next Pokemon here. I instantly swap expecting the Talonflame, but no, they bring in more Pico. This is a terrible play by me. I needed to stay in rather, with my Diggersby here after I think I wanted to have any play, but now that I've swapped out, I'm going to have the bad alignment with my Talonflame, or with my Diggersby rather, into that Talonflame that I do not want. I go for the Rock Slide bait just in case they're going to catch on Talonflame. I know Morpeko had to shield there, so if they wanted to catch and they're going to try to catch a Drill Run, they were going to catch a Rock Slide instead. Unfortunately though, they are going straight Aura Wheel. These are doing so much damage to us right now. I don't know what we can do. I need to try to make a catch here if I want any chance, but I think a catch is going to be extremely hard to make. We are going to try to wait here, go for the catch, but our opponent, they see it coming a mile away, and I'm trying my best here to overcome this, but I think we're in such a bad spot where Diggersby, even if it can get through this Talonflame, how am I going to get through that Morpeko that has so much energy loaded on it? We do get that first Scorching. They let us get the second Scorching Sands off as well, which is good. I think I can knock out the Talon now. Maybe we aren't in range where we can get Thundershock down. Maybe we'll force energy from this Morpeko, and we are going to get Thundershock down if they don't throw any energy, but it looks like they didn't want to risk it. They go for the Psychic Fangs here, or the Aura Wheel rather, to buff their attack stat, which is probably even worse for us, and now they have another Aura Wheel loaded. It was a very close game. We almost came back from losing a Pokemon in the first, 10 seconds of the battle. Unfortunately, though, our opponent played way better than us that game. They outplayed us, and they took the match there. GG's, and in the next game, we're going to see a catastrophic lead. I hate this lead. The rollout users were out in full force today. I kind of am forced to swap into my own Dunsparce here, because I can't really swap in my hard answer. At least, I don't like to if I can help it, so we're going to try to swap in Dunsparce, absorb the energy that we can, and maybe have some play depending on what their backline's going to be. They are staying in here, which either means one of two things. One, they could be very strong to Talonflame in the back. They don't care about switch advantage. Or two, they are very weak to Dunsparce. If they are weak to Dunsparce, I'm kind of sad that I'm getting rid of my Dunsparce right now. But if they're weak to, or if they're strong against Talonflame, that's also bad because that probably means water types in the back. I don't like that. We'll have to see what our opponent is going to have in the back line. They did end up having Earthquake, which does so much damage here to our Dunsparce. I'm going to no-shield this move. I know it's just a body slam. I can't really expend shields this early into the game when I have no idea what our opponent's backline is going to be, and I am forced to reveal my third Pokemon before my opponent has even shown a second. This is not what you want to see, but I go for the catch here. I load up on energy on Diggersby, I load up on energy with our Talonflame, and now we're going to try to incinerate down everything this game. In the back, though, there is the water type you're talking about, the Shadow Feraligatr, a very squishy Pokemon, but one that is going to potentially be winnable if we can leverage our energy. We have energy on Diggersby. We obviously have a bit of energy as well on Talonflame, thanks to that catch and that incinerate sneak. We're going to go for the fly and try to get both shields down. If there's a Pokemon in the back weak to our Diggersby, there might still be a chance for us this game. However, if it's something strong to Diggersby, I don't know how much play we're really going to have. Fly will come through. They do end up shielding it, and I try to make a combo play, but they swap. What did they just catch on? Amandabuzz. That is not what you want to see as the ground type user. We go for the Scorching Sands, they caught it, but we do get the attack drop. That is my one thing that I'm looking at that might potentially win us this game. That attack drop might be massive in this extended matchup here, because these Dark Pulse are going to do way less damage than they would otherwise. These quick attacks and these fire punches are not debuffed. They kind of look like they're debuffed with how little damage we're doing, but no, they are not debuffed. There might be a chance if we overfarm here, if we can reach a Scorching Stance against that Feraligatr and also knock out this Mandibuzz, we might still be able to win this game. Fire punches and quick attacks are slowly chipping down this Mandibuzz, but their damage is adding up despite being debuffed. We are going to be put below half health thanks to this Dark Pulse, and they are so spammy running Snarl, running Dark Pulse, and they also have Air Release if they need to throw a cheaper move. If I can make a catch on my Talonflame, there is a chance once again that we can use it as a way to sponge energy, and if we can do it properly, which we do right here, we are able to absorb some of their energy, potentially make it so that our Diggersby is going to have a little bit more flexibility and overfarm once again here against this Mandibuzz. I know this is a debuffed move. I know that a Feraligator's Hydro Cannon would do much more damage than this Dark Pulse. I have to no-shield, and I have to knock out this Mandibuzz. Shadow Feraligatr might come back in here. Well, it's going to have to, right? It's the last Pokemon left. But will it be able to get to 2 moves or Shadow Claws down before we're able to knock it out? I'm going to go for the CMP here. I know they're at back-to-back moves right now, and I also know that our health is very low. If I end up letting any more Shadow Claws through, there's a good chance I get farmed down. The timer is coming up, but this Scorching Sands has been reached. Is it enough to knock out the Shadow Feraligatr? Just barely. We take it out with 0 seconds on the clock. That was such a roller coaster of a game. GG's to them. Next matchup, though, the Azumarill that we were talking about. One of the worst matchups for this team. One of the ways I like to play out this matchup is Talonflame actually doesn't have a terrible Zero Shield matchup here, right? Brave Bird does a lot of damage. Fly also is able to do a decent chunk if you're able to land it. We're going to go straight for the Brave Bird, try to either get a shield or a lot of damage on them. This one does, unfortunately, end up shielding. If I could have got that to land, that would have put them basically into Drill Run range, which would have been massive, but, I mean, an early shield is also kind of helpful. Maybe we can make something happen. In the back is a Shadow Marowak. This is not looking great for us right now. We are at the back-to-back Drill Runs, which it doesn't quite two-shot the Shadow Kanto Marowak, especially because we are not doing any fast move pressure, but at the very least, we're putting them into a range where we can farm them down later on. It looks like that was a CMP on the Bone Club. Fantastic for us, because I know I survived that. I get my second move off, and now they're going to have a lot less energy on their on their Marowak for our Talonflame later on in this game. Talonflame can be swapped right back in. I can shield this up, or I can no shield knowing it's a Bone Club, and now I'm going to invest everything that I have on our Diggersby. In comes that Azumarill once again. Do they want to double shield? I really hope they don't. If they do shield this, that would be kind of terrible for us right now, but they do end up letting that move through, which means now our Diggersby is going to have a much easier time dealing with this Azumarill. With that said, that's still an uncomfortable amount of health for them to have. That's not quite Fire Punch range. I'm going to have to go for some quick attacks here and then throw a Fire Punch if I want any chance of knocking them out, and this is going to land a lot of bubble damage, a lot of ice beams on us as well. It's really going to come down to that final Pokemon to see what play we're going to have. We make a catch here on our Dunsparce. This is what we have to do against Azumarill teams, right? We have to go and make every play that we possibly can here to potentially have a chance to win it. Overfarm as much as possible here. They're one away from their next move, so if they happen to shield this, I can do one more quick attack, throw a Fire Punch when they do let that go, and in the back is going to be a non-shadow Drapion. I kind of wish this was the shadow. It'd be a lot easier to take out with the Scorching Sands. The non-shadow probably survives one here and makes my life very uncomfortable. With that said, we get the debuff, which is fantastic because now I know I survive moves way easier. I watched for the catch. We're at back-to-back Fire Punches here. We throw one. We're almost at the second. Actually, I think we are at the second right now. So if you just throw back-to-back here, we can throw the Fire Punches, quick attack them all the way down, and take the win against this Drapion. A very, very tricky team. I think, though, we have a very good chance right now. I guess I just went throwing Crunch. That's not even an Aqua Tail here. That's fantastic. And we can go for the Fire Punch, knock out this Drapion, somehow overcome the Azumarill lead here this game. GG's to our opponent. That is something that I kind of had to do all day against those Azumarills. Just outplay them any way that I can. Our next match against a Shadow Drifblim in the lead. This Pokemon is kind of annoying for Talonflame, especially because we have a Dunsparce in the back, right? Dunsparce obviously is a much stronger answer to this. Our Astonish damage, their Astonish damage is doing so much to our Talonflame. Our Incinerates are adding up, but they have debuffing moves here with Icy Wind. Are they going to shield up this Fly, or are they going to let it through and let our Talonflame ramp up against the backline? Looks like this time they do shield, and because of the way the pacing on Drifblim works, I have to throw instantly here. I have to throw on bad timing if I want to get both shields, and now I come in Dunsparce to try to absorb the damage and energy that they have. At this point, they're in range where either I can incinerate them down or just land a Fire Punch against them to knock them out. It really depends on what comes in here to see how much play we're going to have this game, and it looks like it's going to be a Clodsire. Drifblim Clodsire, one of the best cores, I think, in the Open Great League right now, but we are able to have a lot of damage with these drill runs, and I kind of have to wonder, why would you come in Clodsire here? Do you not have like a Marowak, a Gastrodon, anything like that? That's a harder answer here to our Dunsparce. If they do have like another ground type, that could be a little tricky, but we still have our Talonflame alive. We have our full Diggersby as well, and I think right now we also survived this Earthquake, and we can swap into our own Diggersby, start ramping up our energy, and always keep a little bit of energy just in case that Drifblim is going to come back in. I think that Drifblim left with I think there are 3 Astonishes away from an Icy Wind, so I can do 4 quick attacks, throw the Fire Punch here, and make sure that I keep as much energy as possible on our Diggersby. Now that they've swapped in here, wasted their Drifblim, they don't really have a catch on this anymore. They do have that Clodsire still around, but what is their final Pokemon going to be? It's going to be a pivotal moment here to see what it's going to be, and that is not what you want to see as the Diggersby, another Dugong in the back, but I think Diggersby up energy, the fact I still have a bit of Talonflame alive, the fact that I also have my Dunsparce, maybe there's a little bit of play for us, I don't know. I'm going to have to try my best to use our Diggersby to its full effect. I do no-shield that move, go for the Fire Punch, because at this point I need to make sure that I can keep my shields for our Dunsparce, for our Talonflame that might be able to get to another attack here. In comes that Clodsire. This is looking a little bit dire for us right now. If I can get the full or if I can get another move against this Dugong, that's going to be huge. I come in Talonflame, but unfortunately, I think they're going to fast move us down there because I transferred an Ice Shard. That's not exactly the best play by me, but I think there might still be a chance here since they threw energy that I'm going to be able to get to a move against this Dugong with our Dunsparce. We just barely, at the last second, do reach this rollout, or this Rock Slide with our rollout damage. Is this enough to knock out at -1? It is. We knock out the Dugong, just barely taking that match there. Alright, next game, we're going to see Talonflame in the lead up against another rollout user. This is a terrible matchup to be in. Once again, I guess just come into the rollout mirror here, try our best to neutralize this answer. I've seen a lot of these Dunsparce leads, though, having things like a Azumarill in the back, maybe even Talonflame, which could be a little bit tricky for our backline. In comes an Azu of their own, which is not a Pokemon that I really like to see with this team, as I've been saying throughout this entire video. But I can still put in work, especially with Dunsparce. Dunsparce is probably our most neutral answer to this, so just go for as much fast move and charge move pressure as I can, and dance around this team as much as possible. We are once again throwing another drill run against this. We have back-to-back. So we're at least going to chip this down into about the red health range and maybe make it so I can incinerate down, have some play with our Diggersby in the back depending on what it's going to be. Or, okay, I like this as well. We're going to actually bank that move there just in case I need my damage on my Dunsparce against a different target. I know most Azumarill don't run a Hydro Pump right now. It's going to be an Ice Beam, and back comes in that Dunsparce here. I'm going to go for the Brave Bird just on the off chance that they no shield, but even if they do shield, I kind of need to get shields down here this game. They do let that move through, which is fantastic for us because now we can quick attack this down with our Diggersby. Maybe there's a chance that we can make something happen here as long as it's not a hard answer to Diggersby in the back. With that said, though, it was a Dunsparce lead, right? So you have to imagine they're probably going to be a little bit strong against Diggersby in the backline. They don't reach another move against our Diggersby as well, which is huge for us. But their final Pokemon is going to be a Talonflame, a Pokemon I did not want to see in the slightest. Is there any chance that we can win this? I did store some moves on my Dunsparce. I have a Rock Slide ready, and I get an attack drop here as well. Maybe my Diggersby can put in enough work against this to draw both shields, land the Rock Slide, and maybe win this game. We will shield the fly, despite being debuffed. I think I kind of have to, but this Azumarill is still very healthy here. This is not looking amazing. I forgot that it was almost, I think, outside of range even of a Scorching Sands. Yeah, that's not great. We get another attack drop, which is huge, but unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be enough for us to survive that Ice Beam. We need to keep our Diggersby healthy, and we need to draw shields from this Talonflame. We rebuild a lot of energy there thanks to that farm down, but I think that this Talonflame is outside of range where I can knock them out with Scorching Sands, and it's going to be kind of up to our opponent here to see what they're going to shield. They do shield up that first one. I absolutely need them to shield up the second one. That way I can knock them out here with our Dunsparce. They are at a fly right now. I need to make this call right. Are they going to throw instantly? I try to catch at that point. Unfortunately, our opponent calls that as well. They have a move loaded for our Diggersby. Despite trying our very best here, our opponent is able to overcome all of our attempts at flipping that matchup, and we are going to lose that match. Did I see that name right? This is against Michael, Niantic Michael, an employee, one of the people trying to work on the game, make it better. And he is playing the Go Badly on his Legend push. It looks like we are kind of having a good matchup into him so far. It's going to be the Shadow, Alolan Sandslash here into the Gastrodon. And now I'm going to do an interesting play. You might not expect that a ground type is going to have as much play into a water type as you'd think. But the thing is, Diggersby is very bulky. Normally, this thing doesn't actually have a lot of super effective damage against Diggersby. So I'm going to go for the Scorching Sands for the quick attacks, especially after drawing that shield from that the Gastrodon here going for the fly. I think we're going to be in a great position. We also get the attack drop, which is catastrophic here for our opponent, because if I can go for the full quick attack down, no shield this earth power, this is going to be very hard for them to deal with. It looks like I can't quite go for the full quick attack down, but we are still able to get switch advantage and shield advantage, or two shields from our opponent. Looks like it's just going to be switch and shield advantage, which is still fantastic news, saying we have our Talonflame here that we can come in, go for the Incinerates, and knock them out as much as possible. But it looks like, obviously, they don't want to stay in Alolan Sandslash into Talonflame, so they do end up swapping out. We have back-to-back flies here on our Talonflame as well. We can throw them. We have our Dunsparce as well for the Alolan Sandslash later on. So I think we're in a very good commanding position here as long as we can knock out this Marowak. They shield up that first attack. I'm going to go once again for the, I was going to go for the Brave Bird. I didn't quite have it yet, but we are going to be able to have the fly right now. Make sure that we don't get caught on here by an Alolan Sandslash. We have back-to-back flies, and I think now that I have the two moves, I am in such a good spot here. I can trip down the Alolan Sandslash with our fly. I can come in, drill run them with our Dunsparce, and I think we should have this game. The fly is going to come through here. It's going to not do a lot of damage, obviously being resisted, but it's enough to put them into range where I think a drill run is going to be more than enough to knock out the Shadow Alolan Sandslash and barely win us this match. GG's to our opponent. A very common team, actually. The Shadow Alolan Sandslash double mud slap. I've seen that everywhere, it seems. Our next game against a Shadow Machamp in the lead. Not a Pokemon I like seeing because they obviously have access not only to Cross Chop, but Rock Slide. Rock Slide or Stone Edge potentially could be very devastating coverage if I let them move through. Gonna have to shield it up, see what move they're gonna throw at us, and it is gonna be that Rock Slide. Good thing I shielded that. It would easily one-shot us there. I'm gonna throw a fly here, try to get my shield back, but at this point I know they're gonna get both shields from me if they stay in, which could be a little bit tricky depending on what their backline is gonna be. But the fact that they're staying in with Machamp makes me kind of think that there's going to be something else weak to Talonflame in the backline. We'll just have to see at this point. They make a fantastic play there where they damage transfer the Incinerate from the Machamp over to this Dugong, which means that now I'm not going to be able to do quite as much damage to that Machamp. It's still around, it has a little bit of energy, and that could be very scary for us. We go for the Brave Bird, try to draw a shield from this Dugong, which we do successfully do. Then we can come in with our Dunsparce, go for as many rollouts and rock slides as we can, trip it down, make it so our Diggersby doesn't have to deal with this. And I've already seen a Shadow Machamp, I've seen a Dugong. What is their final Pokemon, and does Diggersby have any play against it? Rock Slide, not quite enough to two-shot here, especially after this debuff. I think they will survive the next move, which not exactly the best situation to be in, and they are already able to swap, but it is into a Superior here. Superior is not exactly a Pokemon you want to see when I have a Talonflame with enough energy to get to yet another Brave Bird here. I'm just going to full send. I need to knock out the Superior so our Diggersby doesn't have to deal with it. We get the full knockout. What is going to come in? It could be the Dugong to farm us down. It could be the Machamp to snipe us down here with this energy. And now I think our Diggersby is in a spot that it can take out its counters. It can knock out the Shadow Machamp with one quick attack. I can reach a Scorching Sands against this Dugong. Even if they're at an Icy Wind, I survive it, but they're not. We were able to get the Scorching Sands off, knock out this Dugong, and take out two of the hardest answers that Diggersby could possibly see here, and that Superior as well. Honestly, a team triple countering Diggersby, very hard to overcome, but just barely able to do it, getting us the 5-0 in this set and securing us the victory at the end of Go Battle Day. It was a very fun weekend, a lot of battles, obviously, but it's how it goes. Sometimes you gotta get through them, right? A lot of battles, a lot of good rewards. Got a lot of more Pico, some lower stats, like lower attack stat that I have been looking for. So obviously, yeah, that's pretty good. And I loved using Talonflame today. I don't really use fire types too often, so getting the option to use it, using Brave Bird, using Fly as well to kind of hit its counters for at least decent damage, it's a very fun Pokemon to use. Alright, well, thank you so much for watching today's video. If you want to see more content like this, please make sure to subscribe. I'm going to upload a lot more to the channel. Alright, well, thank you again for watching. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.